So, this is JP Dice. For the ones of you who don't know, he's a local celebrity.
Well,
He is the meteorologist. It's hard for me to say that word, so.
weatherman.
Weatherman.
How about that? Does that
He's
work?
the weather dude. So, anyway, he's going to talk to us today a little bit about boating and RVing and weather awareness. So, I'll let you take it away from there. Oh, and he recently got him a boat.
I did. So I am somewhat new to the boating world. Did weather on television for a long time, like 26 years.
Long time, yeah.
I still do it a little bit, but not full time.
Yeah.
I switched over a different career, flying airplanes, which is also something that's very weather dependent.
Very, yeah.
Yeah. So we look at weather forecasts all the time. If you're doing anything outdoors, you're in an RV, you're in a boat, you're probably looking at some weather apps to look at your weather information. There's a lot of them out there. They give you essentially forecast and some radar. But a lot of times on those apps, I don't know if you ever noticed this ad, I call it blob-o-vision. They just look like a blob of this and a blob of that. They're not very detailed. If you're really into radar, and you want to have something that's going to give you an accurate depiction of where rain is, there is a weather app that's called Radar Scope.
Yes, I use that.
Radar Scope is probably the best one if you just want a pure radar app.
Right. And my experience with it is, I won't cut you off, is
No.
you're talking about the blob.
Yeah.
You can take stuff off of it where you can really bring it down to just what you want to see. You don't have to have all of the overlays on it. That's what
right.
I really like about it.
And it's going to be what we call single site NextRad. It gives you the high res NextRad data, not the composite. Like the consumer level apps like you would get from your favorite television station, which are fine, but they're still going to be kind of a consumer level. So it's going to just be a mesh and mosaic of radar information from all over the place. Radar Scope does give you that high res quarter kilometer resolution that you can really see where the storm is. You can also overlay warning information, that sort of thing. The only thing about Radar Scope, unlike a lot of weather apps, it's not free.
No, it's not.
It's like $10 a year.
Yeah. Best $10 you'll spend, I guarantee you.
We probably waste it on something silly anyway.
Yeah, go get you a coffee.
That's right.
Yeah. I'd rather have the radar app.
Yeah. And it's only per year. It's not per month or anything like that. But we always tell people, especially the times of the year, what we call the convective season, in many parts of the country, that's going to be in the spring, summertime, going into early fall, where you have more of those afternoon thunderstorms.
Right.
Lightning, you hear the thunder, make sure you're inside, because if you can hear the thunder, that means that storm is close enough that it could cause a lightning strike that could hit you or hit a piece of property, do something that's not going to be good to you or something you own.
How about the old 1001, 1002? Yeah. That works pretty well.
It does. And the reason for that little calculation is basically you're counting how long between the sound of the thunder and the visualization of the lightning strike.
Right.
It's basically the speed of sound versus the speed of light. And it's very accurate. You've heard about the little count that you can do, and that'll tell you roughly how close that storm is to you.
That's right. And being out on the lake now, you can, a lot of times you can see it coming way down the lake. Doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to get to you. I've experienced that where you can literally see the water line, and it never makes it to you.
No, I mean, I was out there last night, and there were what we call rain shafts all over the place.
Yeah.
And we didn't get impacted by any of them. I think one that we were looking at, we're talking about the lake that we're closest to here, Lake Logan Martin. And this thing was way down, probably in Childersburg.
Yeah.
And you could see it. It didn't look like it was that far away, but it didn't even remotely come close to us.
You ever experienced on the lake yet where you can see it down here and you think everything's good, and then you turn around and it's on the other side of you too?
I haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah, it's kind of like flying. You think you're fine, just don't go through the hole because it'll close up on you. I've experienced it up here on this lake a couple of times, especially down toward the dam. And I don't know if that's just because of some kind of atmospheric conditions that happens there.
Was that on the south side or the north side?
The south side.
I was over there exactly that area yesterday.
And I got down there one day and I could see the rain, and I mean, it was a wall. And I thought, well, I'm going to be good because it's all down there. and we kept fishing. And I turned around to leave, and it got around the other side of me too. So it was like it just came around, and now I was right in the middle of it. It just closed in on us. That was a miserable ride.
You made me think of something I did just kind of goofy last night. It's not weather related, it's boating related. So, like a lot of boats, we have a stereo system on the boat.
Yeah.
You can listen to music or whatever. But me, being kind of the goofball I am, I Bluetooth my phone to the stereo in the boat, and I found these sound effects that were like cruise ship horns and all that.
Yeah.
We have a pontoon boat, and I mean, had the horns that would sound nothing like you would expect on a pontoon boat.
Right. Somebody looking for the big tug.
It's like, is that Parker Towing coming?
Yeah.
What's going on?
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, back to the business at hand. Weather. If you're going to be out in a boat, make sure you stay close to weather information and have a methodology to get those alerts. Most of us, it's going to be on a phone app or something like that. And know the difference between watches and warnings. A watch means conditions are favorable. If it's a thunderstorm watch for a thunderstorm to develop severe thunderstorms. And a lot of times people don't really realize a severe thunderstorm does have criteria. For it to be technically a severe thunderstorm, it has to have winds at or greater than 58 miles per hour.
I didn't know that.
Or hail 1 inch in diameter or greater.
Good to know.
But for most people, think about this, Ed. If you had 35 mile per hour winds come here and you had small hail, in your mind, that seems like a severe thunderstorm.
That would be severe for me.
Yeah, and when I worked in TV, people would say, "There's no warning on this," and I got the wind at my house, and I've got hail and all this. It was below severe weather limits for the National Weather Service to issue the warning.
Right. Well, it just goes to show you that a lot of times, what I think is a disaster, you or somebody else may just go, that's nothing, you know. But that kind of goes back to flying too. Some people are scared to death to fly. Me or you, we'll go out and try to fly a popsicle stick. We don't really care. So
no, I mean, I fly everything. A few minutes ago, I was in a 1960 something Piper Cherokee. Yeah. Sometimes I'm in that. Sometimes I'm in a brand new Cirrus SR-22. Sometimes I'm in a Gulfstream jet. Sometimes a King Air. If it's if it's a safe airplane, I don't care if it's old or new. I'm good with it.
And then sometimes it sends pictures that makes me really jealous, but that's all good.
Yeah, I tell anybody, flying is best job in the world. Can't believe they actually pay us to do this.
I know. I still don't believe they pay you guys to do that. So
every time it's like I have an airplane, and you had an airplane, and it cost a lot of money to fly an airplane.
Oh, yeah.
The idea that somebody lets me fly their airplane and I don't have to pay for it, and in fact, they pay me to do it, and then they're going to buy me food and pay for my hotel when I go somewhere. Yeah. It's such a novel concept.
It's just amazing.
I tell them it's a scam.
He's living the dream all the time.
It's a total scam. I saw other people were in on this. I'm like, I need to figure out how to get one of these jobs.
That's right. Trey just got his commercial.
I heard.
And he is about 10 hours, I think, away from getting his CFI.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So where's he going to teach?
Out here at St. Clair County.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll do. When I have some folks that, I'm too busy to do a flight review or something like that, I'll be like, hey, I know a guy.
That's right. It's a big network, people. That's how you get things done, networking.
It is. It's relationship business is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
But weather is something that's absolutely amazing to me. Look at what happened with Helene recently.
Oh man, I recorded before you got here today, and you guys will notice I'm wearing the same shirt Friday, so don't freak out. I recorded them the same day. I don't really wear the same shirt every day.
He's got a uniform.
Yeah. But I did one this morning, and usually on Wednesdays I do what's called a What's Up Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I just talk about something that's something that everybody wants to talk about. It's got to do usually with camping and that kind of stuff. But today it was on my heart so heavy about all the people in the Carolinas. Them people, I had no idea. The people in Florida, they expect that.
And you can it's on the maps and on television. Here's the remnants of this storm. It's going to move up
Right.
into wherever.
Right.
But if you're in a state that typically does not deal with hurricanes,
Yeah.
I don't think it resonates that well, especially this one, because it was moving so fast. It really didn't have time to lose a lot of its wind speed.
That's right.
And that sort of thing. So it came on up, and you had South Carolina, North Carolina, parts of Tennessee, the dams that broke, and that incredible flooding, Boone, North Carolina. We saw those pictures.
Yeah.
A little shocking to me. I mean, it's almost really, even though it's not a coastal area, it's very Katrina-like in terms of what you're seeing with the flooding.
Yeah, that's why I did the video this morning. It's just been on my heart so bad. All those people, they had no idea what was coming. They all thought the rivers might get out of the bank a little bit, or we was going to have torrential rains, or they've seen that kind of stuff before.
They didn't think that people are going to be standing on top of the roof of the hospital.
No, and come today, I watched the news, and they're still finding people in cars.
Yeah,
That's how quick it happened. People didn't get out of their car.
I mean, when you look back and you see the damage, it's almost like Florida did have damage and they had some flooding, but the mass devastation has been largely in the Carolinas.
Absolutely, yeah. I
In
just feel so
Tennessee.
bad for everybody up there. Did you see the picture of Six Flags? The
Oh,
roller coaster
But
in
you
the
know
water?
what? I got to debunk that.
Oh, is it not right?
Those are the wonderful people on social media that take something that's a real picture from 2009 and they try to market it like it just happened.
Oh, okay.
Because I was almost caught by that, and I'm like, what in the world's going on? I'm like, because I saw it, and I'm like, wow. And then I thought, now it rained a lot in Georgia, but it didn't rain to that level.
Well, I'm glad you told me that, because I showed it to Kathy this morning. I said, "Oh my! Can you imagine the water to get up on a roller coaster like that?"
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And that was a
incredible,
lot,
man.
but that was 2009.
Okay. All right.
Don't you love the folks on social
Oh, yeah.
media?
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I've got something that's not right. Let's see how many people I can
Yeah.
put out there.
Hey, and with AI,
Oh, my gosh.
it's just limitless.
Well, here's the thing with AI that scares me. I think AI is wonderful in terms of using it for computer modeling, for meteorology, and some of the tools that way.
Yeah.
But, AI to make it look like I just robbed the 7-Eleven down the street and show it to the police, that's probably not what we're looking for.
Yeah, and I really think that's kind of where we're going with this. It seems like everybody wants to use things for the wrong reason these days.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be honest with anybody anymore. They're just looking for ways to
Well, that's the thing with
sensationalize.
I love internet. I love social media for the right reasons.
Yeah.
But sometimes you ever sit back and you think, gosh, in 70s and 80s when we didn't have this and you actually had to go to a library to look something up or whatever.
What's a library? Anybody
Yeah.
know what a library is?
There was a lot of things that we did pretty well without. It's almost like the negatives of some of this have outweighed some of the good.
Yeah. Did you know I asked my grandson the other day, the oldest one, Jay, I asked him the other day if he knew what an encyclopedia was. He ain't got a clue. That's scary, isn't it?
Oh, well, here's one. You ready for this? It's not an encyclopedia. It's just where we are. So the other day, Alabama-Georgia game.
Oh, what a game.
So you had former President Trump there. You had Kid Rock. You had Hank Williams Jr.
Right.
Hank Williams Jr. is up on the Jumbotron, and one of the guys that I work with, his daughter goes to Alabama.
Yeah.
And saw Hank Jr. on the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
And she asked her dad, she's like, who is that?
Oh, man.
Hank Williams Jr. We take for granted. There are people that don't know who he is.
How
that are
have we
younger.
failed these kids? We have
That's
failed them.
country. That's country music royalty right there.
You can't live in Alabama and not know who that is.
I know.
I mean, his daddy's got a highway named after him here. The Long the Long Lost Highway?
How many people don't know what a payphone is, or how about ice trays? Remember ice trays?
Yeah. Me and Kathy were in Missouri 2 months ago,
Yeah.
and we stopped at an ice cream place on the side of the road, just one of the little mom and pop up type, and we said, "Oh, look at that!" So we stopped at that. There was an old payphone booth. In fact, I got a picture of it. I might try to find it and post it on here with this video. But there was an old phone, and the phone was still in it. I couldn't believe it. And the cord was hanging there, and I said, "Should have been fun if the phone book had still been in there, just to look
Just
through
hanging
it.
down there.
Yeah, just to look through.
Yeah, what's a phone book?
But I can, Yellow Pages. But I can remember watching people back then. If they needed a phone number, if they found it in the Yellow Pages, they just tore the page out of them, so the next guy couldn't find it. But it's just a little stuff.
Or you wanted your business to start with A, like
yes,
A plumber, you know,
absolutely.
A electrician.
You wanted. There was a lot of A stuff, wasn't
There was.
there? There was a lot. Or it started with a number because numbers came up first too.
I actually was one of these kids early on. I enjoyed reading the phone book and looking through the Yellow Pages.
Yeah,
I don't know why that sounds kind of goofy, but
that's kind of why we're geeks now.
We're talking about the internet. I was telling a friend of mine the other day, when I was in 8th grade, I had a pretty nice little computer, and I had a couple of friends had computers, and we would dial in to each other's computer, and we would chat back and forth.
That's right.
And people told me, this was probably 1984. And folks, well, that's stupid. What are you doing that for? That doesn't make any sense. What do we do now? We chat back and forth on a computer. We text message.
We're talking to you people today, and we're sitting here looking at a piece of plastic with a little lens in it up here, like we're really sitting in front of you, but you're seeing us.
What I tried to do a long time ago when I worked in TV for a long time. So we had a Storm Track truck that we got maybe in 2002 when I was in Huntsville. And I had this idea to take a little camera like you've got here, and it was when the internet cards for computers first came out. We had a little air card.
I remember that, yeah.
And I thought, I can transmit the video back to the TV station with this air card.
Yeah.
And I never could really get it to work exactly right. It was kind of cumbersome. But now, that's how we do everything. Even television news. Where used to everything was either satellite or microwave delivered when you did a live report somewhere. 95% of what you see is coming over cell signal. The video is over like 8 cell signals combined. News photographer wears a backpack and they have a camera connected to the backpack, and that's how the pictures get back to the station.
That's right. And it's done with a small box about that big.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And it wasn't that long ago. We were actually dealing with, you probably saw these news trucks that had a mast that would go up about 40 feet with an antenna that you would aim back at the tower at the television station to get that signal back. Yep. And they still have those. I don't think anybody at my old station probably even knows how to operate that stuff anymore.
Probably not. And even if you did back then, if the storm and the weather was so bad, the signal wasn't very good either.
The truck,
that's right.
Back and forth. I worked with this photographer one time, and we this was early on, and before I started doing weather full time, I had to report during the week and do weather on the weekend. And this photographer I had was not the sharpest guy.
Yeah,
we get way up North Alabama, north of Huntsville, and I'm out there, and we've been rushing to the site, and I'm out there to do my live report. And he's like, they can't get us back at the station. They're not picking us up. I'm like, how in the world are they not picking us up? And I looked up at the mast on the live truck, and he had it aimed straight at the ground.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm like, you gotta kind of point that up,
right? Yeah, at least put it out in a general direction.
Yeah. He probably wasn't the most techie guy.
So we got a little far off track, but
out of control.
We always get this way. We talk about everything and anything.
You know what we didn't talk about? I'm getting us off track again. How we actually met. A Christmas parade.
That is true. Yeah.
In a Christmas parade. And I had to ride around with Ed during the evening.
It was awful. For him and not for me.
You know, here's the thing. Why was I riding with you? If I was in the parade, why was I in a parade vehicle?
I remembered the story.
But I was with you the whole time.
You were. And I remember telling this story, I don't know, a couple months ago. Somebody had asked me, in fact, was it a couple months ago when I told you that I wanted you to come on? Okay, well, that was when the story started, because they said, well, how did you actually meet JP? And I said, man, let me tell you the story. And matter of fact, Kathy, I am convinced, would not be alive today had our relationship not been 10 years or so ago. You ever thought about that?
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Yeah, because
I would. Oh my God, yeah.
I would not have known any of those people that you knew. I would not have known Ken. I wouldn't have known any of those people. You guys have to go back and watch. I did a 5-part
Insane.
series. It's called Continuing the Journey or The Journey. Go back and watch it. I talk about this whole thing about how me and JP met. You need to go watch it because it actually talks about how me and you met the first time and how none of this would have happened. But it talks about the whole thing about that you just never know. Had things not happened 10 years prior to Kathy getting sick, she would have never made it because the relationships that were made would have never been made.
I got one on top of that. You ready for this one? So that's true.
Yep.
So our friend Ken, who's a medical doctor,
That's right.
I got to know Ken not necessarily because of airplanes. We had that in common. I got cancer in 2012.
That's right.
So that's how I got to know Ken, who was a GI doctor.
Yes.
And had I not gotten cancer, I wouldn't have known Ken. Had you not known me, I wouldn't have, known Ken. And Ken was instrumental in getting Kathy
Absolutely.
the care that she needed.
Yeah.
That's
I promise
insane.
you guys, I promise you, Kathy would not be here today had I not met JP, and she would not be here today had I not met Ken, without a doubt.
Or I had not had cancer.
If you hadn't had cancer, so bad
we
things do
hate
have good things.
I hate to say it's like every now and then there's a little good that comes from something bad.
Just depends on how you want to look at things,
Yeah.
doesn't it? But
Wow.
anyway, I was a police officer. Most of you guys know because I've told stories about stuff, but I was a police officer, and JP was going to be our grand marshal for the parade that year. Well, the weather had a little bit of difference of opinion that day, and they decided they wanted to try to snow. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it delayed him getting there a little bit, and to get him where he needed to be was on the other side of town, and there was no way to get him there. So they asked me, would I go pick him up and take him through the back way? And I said, yeah, why not? So I met him at I think I met you at the Food World, wasn't it, at the time?
Well, we ended up having dinner.
We did.
We had a Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
It was me, you, and Bo Andrews.
Yeah.
And that was our first meeting.
Yeah.
My wife, Elise came.
That's right. She
And
sure
he was
did.
riding around with Bo.
Yeah.
And he was pulling a boat.
I don't remember why he's pulling a boat.
I don't know why he was pulling a boat.
The boat was in the Christmas parade. That was our
Yeah.
Marine boat. Yeah.
And,
that's right.
Elise is like,
Yeah.
why am I in a car with a guy I don't know pulling a boat? And I'm like,
that's
which I know, she got to know Bo after a
Okay.
while, but it was all our initial meetings.
Oh yeah.
And I remember what I was doing with you.
What's that?
I was like, me, Mr. Inquisitive, we're in the police car and the computer in there. I'm like, how's this work? Can you look up this? Now, if I get pulled over, what are you guys doing back here? Because I want to know kind of the inner workings of.
Right.
And I thought that was the neatest thing.
It is kind of neat if you've never seen the mobile data terminals in them. They're pretty neat. You can look up pretty much anything about anybody. But
Hopefully, so when you walk up there, you're not like, oh, surprise, surprise.
Right.
This guy's got like 5 felonies and
Exactly.
escape convict.
it's supposed to tell us if they got warrants and that kind of stuff before we actually deal with them. But going back to the original question, there was, it was about 10 years prior to Kathy getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if you called me or I called you that night or how we ended up on the phone and I told you Kathy was sick and that she couldn't breathe and they took her to the hospital. And anyway, you told me, you said, hey, give me about 15 minutes and I'll call you back. And you and Ken called me back.
Mm-hmm.
You had him on the line. And
because, we're trying to, this was the heat of COVID when people would get it. And I mean, it wasn't like it is now. I mean, they didn't know a whole lot about it. People were getting it. They were seemingly pretty healthy, and they would not do so well. So I hit Ken up, and then my wife Elise, which she doesn't do it full time anymore, but she's an RN as well, and she's like, she needs a bigger facility. Ken's like, she needs a bigger facility, and Ken was still working at Grandview Medical Center.
That's right.
At the time, so he's like, let me see what I can do to get her in ICU.
Yeah, and the funny part was, I had already called Grandview that night because I knew she didn't need to be where she was at, and they told me, they said, we don't have any beds. And when Ken called, Ken says, give me about 15 minutes, I'll call you back. It's starting to be a thing, right? Every 15 minutes. Well, he calls back and he says, hey, he said, I got an ambulance coming. They'll be there about 4 in the morning, and I've got her a bed. And I still remember this day, I asked Ken, I said, please tell me you didn't unplug somebody and roll them out back. And he somehow or another he got a bed anyway.
It's the internet work.
Yeah.
If with anything, whatever you're doing, if you got somebody on the inside to advocate for you,
Oh, yeah.
you can make some things happen. It's
Sure.
it's all about reaching the right person on the phone. And most of the time, if you
Yeah.
don't have somebody on the inside, you don't reach the right person on the phone.
And I can tell you now that it's been so long, I would have never told this before because I was afraid I'd get somebody in trouble. By the way, Kathy got to meet the nurse that took care of her about 3 or 4 months ago.
Oh, wow. That's pretty
that
darn
was
cool.
amazing. She still works there.
Good.
My mother was in the hospital, you know. She had to have a mastectomy. And anyway, I was visiting with my mother, and the nurse that was in there, I said, "Wow," I said, "you guys are so great." I said, "Well, my wife was in here, and I gave her, I'm not going to give the names, I gave the name of the nurse that was there, and she said, she still works here, me and her's best friends." I said, "Is she here today?" She said, "Yeah." She was on the 4th floor, and I said, "Oh, I'd love to talk to her." So I went down and told her who I was and who Kathy, and she remembered her.
That's pretty cool.
And so I FaceTimed Kathy and her. It was great. But it's just the good people like that.
But it is weird, all those connections and all those relationships you make out makes a big difference.
Yes. Yeah. So if you guys think relationships don't matter, this is a perfect example.
Yeah.
And we've had a long relationship, friendship now for, geez, man, it's 24, so probably, I don't know, 12 years or better now.
Yeah,
I guess.
because you had an airplane that was right next to my airplane.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I sold my airplane to Ken, the doctor that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm still, Ken's out at the same Pell City Airport. I am out there too.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah. As soon as Ken gets his plane back, I guess we'll go flying again.
I looked at it today.
Tibet.
The new engine's on it. It's getting
man.
there.
Good.
It's good.
That's good. You guys know how it is. You watch me enough. I never stay on track. I'll always get off on a different subject.
Well, this was a lot more excited than dodging thunderstorms.
Oh man, yeah.
But we know with the dodging thunderstorms, if you get that warning, if you're in a boat, get to a safe place as soon as you can. Let's talk a little bit about this so people know how this works. The polygon warning system.
Yeah.
So, back in the day, the whole county was under a tornado warning or a severe thunderstorm warning. These days, it is where you are located. It's a polygon. It may be the northern part of the county, southern part of the county. One of the common questions I would get when I worked in TV was the fact there was a warning. I'll just use this as an example. There's a warning for St. Clair County, and my app didn't go off. How come?
Yeah.
You weren't in the part of the county that was under the warning.
Right.
It's only going to be the part of the county where there is a warning.
That's right. I've heard that multiple times.
Because if you're in Odenville here, and there's a tornado warning, if you're down in Cropwell, unless it is going that way,
yeah, there's no need for them to know.
yeah, it's to keep everybody from having to sit in their closet for an hour and a half when it's not even coming their way.
Absolutely. Much better than it used to be.
Yeah, it was all county based. Now, what is still county based for the most part is NOAA weather radio.
Yes.
The weather radios, they've kind of figured out how to kind of separate it in zones in the county, but they haven't perfected that yet. Take a lot of funding and all that to make that work exactly the way that it should. But the apps on your phone, the alerts, that works really well.
I've noticed too, moving around the country, because me and Kathy stay pretty weather aware, but I've noticed moving around the country that not all apps and TV stations are equal. With their warnings and stuff, and I don't know if it's because they're using different technologies, maybe.
Some of it is the warnings themselves
Yeah.
are going to originate from a local National Weather Service office.
Right.
So if there's going to be a warning for this area, the Weather Service office is in Shelby County, Alabama, just south of Birmingham, and they're going to originate the warning. So the apps, all of them, really should work the same way and alert you. In terms of like television coverage across the country, maybe varying a bit. Certain television stations have more people, certain have more technology.
Yeah.
And there's certain markets, I think, that are more weather savvy. I think Birmingham has enough bad weather that you get pretty good coverage here.
For sure.
If there was going to be crazy bad weather in the desert Southwest, which they really don't have a lot of tornadoes or anything like that,
Yeah.
I think they wouldn't be more accustomed to doing that kind of weather coverage. But if you go into Oklahoma, they're going to be used to doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Or Texas or
Right.
Arkansas. Kansas.
Yeah.
They're really going to be in tune to doing severe weather coverage.
Yeah. I just find it interesting. I guess because I pay more attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just
As far as the technology, what's pretty interesting at television stations, everybody promotes, I got the best, this and this and this and this. And
right.
Largely, there's two companies that do all of the equipment for television weather coverage in the country. One's based in Alabama. It's up in Huntsville, and the other one's up in Boston, Massachusetts.
Is Raytheon one of them?
No, now Raytheon makes components for radars and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But these two companies specialize in weather graphic systems and storm tracking for television stations.
Okay.
And the station that I still work some for in Birmingham has both. Some stations will just have one, but some will have both. We actually have both of those systems, so we can get the best of both worlds.
Right. What I'm saying, and I guess I got spoiled watching you for years.
Yeah.
And then you got the other guy we won't talk about, but both stations were always really good about weather in Birmingham.
Very.
And then I go to other states, and then we'll watch weather when it's getting bad, and I'm just like, I just feel like I'm really just not getting the quality, you know?
Yeah.
And then some of them you get them, man, they're really good, but I just find that it's sporadic.
Mm-hmm.
So
the weather active parts of the country typically will have the best of the best, usually in meteorology.
I think you're right with that. Yeah.
Because a lot of times it attracts people that really are into weather that want to work in those spots too.
That's true. In Shelby County, by the way, where the other weather, was that the weather radar that's down there?
Mm-hmm. The NextRad radar.
It's right off the side of the airport, and that's where I learned how to fly. So I didn't take it out either.
You didn't. It's
I
on the downwind right there. Here's another thing. I had a question the other day that folks, and I didn't realize, I guess I should, that not everybody understood this. Guy posted on what used to be Twitter, it's called X.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm shocked that this Hurricane Helene now just suddenly appears on a radar coming into the Gulf of Mexico. What he didn't realize is it didn't just suddenly appear. He got within radar coverage of the Key West radar.
Right.
Farther out, there were no weather radars that would be picking that up unless it was a radar, it was on a ship or something like that, that you wouldn't have access to. Right. So that's why on television or on an app or something, it looks like it just suddenly popped up because it was outside of radar coverage. What you were able to see it with was satellite. Satellite can show you the clouds, but it couldn't show you the precipitation.
And not only that, that's why they have them crazy guys that fly the airplane through the hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
So they really get a close up of it.
NOAA does that as well as the Air Force. So NOAA out of Lakeland, Florida, they fly in, and Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, they fly the C-130s in there.
And that is a nice plane.
And it's a J model, which has got an all glass cockpit. It's the latest and greatest. I got to fly on one. One of my friends is a Hurricane Hunter pilot, and it let me go.
That's nice.
And not the Navy, but the NOAA folks fly a P-3 Orion, which is a former Navy submarine hunter airplane. But they're going to be phasing those out, and they're going to the C-130 as well. C-130 is just, that thing is tough.
It is just tough. I got to actually fly in one time, and I can't even tell you why I got to do it. That's how. That was back in the day, but I got to fly in one. That was the coolest experience because they had all the consoles and stuff. They had cameras in there that from 30,000 feet, you could see stuff in people's yards.
Mm-hmm.
That is crazy. That's the first time I ever experienced that, and I thought, wow, if the government's got that, what else do they have that I don't know about?
Yeah, what are they not letting Ed look at?
Yeah, exactly. Because I was just blown
And
away
this was
with
a number of years ago. Who knows what it's like now?
That was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, who knows? I'm probably telling you guys more than I ought to tell you, but.
Yeah. Some folks in black cars are going to show up here shortly.
Yeah. I was part of the black cars at one time, but that was part of the with that.
Yeah, so a great airplane that's used to, they're not just doing it for grins and giggles. They actually drop instrumentation in there that goes in the forecast models and gives you a pretty accurate depiction on where that storm's going to go. Case in point with Helene, recently, the models and the data was so good, it really made a landfall and did pretty much what was expected.
Absolutely. I was shocked when they started talking a week out where it was going to hit, and I thought, there's no way.
And it hadn't even formed yet.
I know. They kept talking about it was going to hit. And I was like, there's no. Because you've always told me 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 days. And these guys are a week out. And I'm thinking, there's no way. And it hit where they said it was going to hit.
Yeah, that's a voodoo land, and it worked just fine.
It's crazy. What about this next one that's coming up?
Yeah, it's a possibility. Right now, some of the data suggests, not anything too bad. Others try to develop something. Yeah. One thing about Helene, it stirs up a lot of the colder water in the Gulf of Mexico, so that does limit some of the growth if it's already been kind of worked over by another storm.
Yeah, take some of the energy away.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'm going to quit holding JP up because you got better things to do than talk to me. I hope you guys have enjoyed talking to me.
That's been great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. We don't get together like we used to. We used to see each other a lot at the airports, but
something when he sold his airplane. I don't see him as much at the airport. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
You need another airplane.
You got one I could just fly for free?
Well, I do have that.
Yeah, that don't happen very often. Anyway, we'll let you guys go. If you haven't subscribed, please think about doing so. Like the video if you liked it. That really helps us out on our algorithm. That's the way we are able to keep doing this. Share it with your friends. Everybody is going to want to see JP. Share it with your friends. It helps us all out. JP, you have a YouTube channel too, don't you?
I do. Mine's on aviation weather. It's called Beyond the Briefing. So if you're into flying or aviation weather and want to see how that works and help you with your flight planning, your check ride, take a look at that. Also write some articles for AOPA magazine.
Oh, that's a great magazine.
About aviation
I'm actually
weather.
a member there. So
I enjoy doing a lot of meteorology training. I'm going up soon to some folks up outside of Washington, D.C., and it's like a defense contractor and doing some aviation weather training for them. So pretty excited.
He also has a studio in his house that I'm very envious of that he does. Well, you did one for New York the other day, right?
Yeah, Fox Weather in New York. I do some things for them. So that's pretty fun. Every now and then they actually let me in Fox in New York, and I do it in the building, but most of the time I do it from the house.
So again, I'm envious, but we both geek out, so I've got a pad laying here that he's giving me pointers on some of the new equipment I need. So anyway, say it's just money, right?
That's all it is.
All right. So anyway, make each day count. You guys continue the journey. We'll see you down the road. Bye-bye.